My name is Rachel Thomas, and I come from a small town in Virginia where everybody knows everybody, and secrets don't stay buried for long. Or at least, that's what I thought until my sister managed to bury lies so deep they rotted the very foundation of our family. For years, I didn't know the truth. I only knew the pain, the rejection, and the loneliness. I blamed myself, not realizing that the person I trusted the most had poisoned everything. I was the younger of two daughters. Growing up, it was just me, my sister Claire, and our parents, June and Martin. My father worked long hours as a mechanic, and my mother was a school secretary. We didn't have much, but we had each other. Also, I believed. Claire was 3 years older than me, and everyone adored her. She was a golden child, the one who made honor roll, sang in church, and won the local pageant twice. Wherever she went, praise followed her like perfume. I didn't envy her success, at least not when I was little. I admired her. She was my big sister, my role model, my protector. She would braid my hair in the mornings before school, read me stories at night, and promise me that no matter what, we'd always be a team. But somewhere along the way, something changed. I can't pinpoint the exact moment, but I started noticing subtle shifts. Claire stopped helping me with homework. She no longer invited me to her room or talked to me like she used to. At first, I chalked it up to teenage distance. Maybe she was growing up, and I just didn't fit into her world anymore. Then the whispers began. I was about 13 when I first overheard one of the neighbor ladies at church say to my mom, "It's such a shame about Rachel." I froze behind the pews, my heart pounding. What shame? What did she mean? My mother didn't defend me. She just gave a tight-lipped smile and nodded. From then on, things only got worse. At school, teachers treated me differently. They looked at me with a mix of pity and suspicion. I once got detention for something I didn't do, and when I tried to explain myself, the vice principal said, "Given your history, Rachel, I'm not surprised." I had no idea what he was talking about. At home, I felt like a ghost. My parents grew colder. They didn't scold me outright, but the disappointment in their eyes weighed heavier than any punishment. Claire, on the other hand, seemed to flourish. She got a scholarship to a private college out of state. At her graduation party, everyone toasted to her bright future. No one even noticed I was sitting alone at the back table. I didn't understand what I had done. I started questioning my memory, my sanity. Was I a bad kid and just didn't realize it? Did I do something horrible that I had blocked out? It wasn't until I was 23, working a part-time job at a local bakery, that the first crack in the lies appeared. One rainy afternoon, Mrs. Kent, an old friend of my mom's, came into the bakery. She looked frail, her hair grayer than I remembered. She ordered a coffee and a slice of lemon cake. As I handed it to her, she looked at me with such tenderness that I almost started crying on the spot. "You've grown into a lovely young woman, Rachel," she said. "Thank you," I whispered, unsure how to respond. "I'm glad you're still around," she said softly. After everything Claire told us, well, some of us always believed there was more to the story. What story? I asked, my hands trembling. Mrs. Kent's eyes widened. "You mean, you don't know?" I didn't, but I was about to. She looked around, leaned in, and said, "Claire told people you stole from her, that you were expelled from school for drugs, that you lied about some serious accusations." I stood there frozen, the blood draining from my face. "What? I never stole." I never touched drugs. And I certainly never lied about anything that serious. She seemed to realize she had said too much and quickly changed the subject, but it didn't matter. That one conversation cracked open a dam I had been holding back for years. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind raced with memories, trying to piece together every moment, every cold shoulder, every scolding I didn't understand. It all made sense now. Claire had been feeding our parents lies about me, and everyone else. She had built a story that made me look like a disgrace. But why? What could I have possibly done to deserve this? I tried to confront my parents. I drove to their house, sat in the living room, and asked point blank, "Mom, Dad, what did Claire tell you about me?" They exchanged glances, nervous and hesitant. "We don't want to reopen old wounds. Rachel," my mother said carefully. "Old wounds? You all acted like I was some sort of criminal." I need to know what she said. My father sighed, rubbed his temples, and muttered, "She said you were jealous, that you tried to get her in trouble, that you spread rumors about her, that you were using things. Things? Drugs? You believed that?" She had proof. My mother snapped. Photos. Text messages. She cried for days. We didn't know what else to do. I stared at them in disbelief. Photos? I had never even touched a cigarette. I was the one who spent most nights alone in my room reading books while Claire was out late with her friends. "Do you still have them?" I asked. "No." She deleted everything after she said it was over. I felt a scream rising in my throat, but I swallowed it down. It was no use. They believed her. They always had. That night, I drove back to my apartment and cried harder than I had in years. It wasn't just betrayal. It was erasure. She hadn't just lied about me. She had rewritten me. But I wasn't a helpless little girl anymore. I had resources, a little savings, and, more importantly, I had truth on my side. I began digging. "I don't know how to say this," she began, "but I think Claire might have done something really messed up. Back in high school, I was hanging out at her place one afternoon. She left her phone on the table, and a message popped up. It was from a guy she was dating, and he was asking about some plan she had. I glanced at it, and it said something like, "So Rachel still doesn't know you used her name for that grant application?" My heart dropped. "What are you saying?" I asked. "Claire used your name. She submitted some kind of essay or application under your name. I thought it was weird at the time, but I figured maybe it was a mistake. I never said anything. I'm sorry." Suddenly, it all made sense. Claire had stolen my identity, my words, my potential. No wonder she was so desperate to paint me as a screw-up. If people ever compared us too closely, they might notice something was off. I spent weeks putting everything together. Screenshots, messages, testimonies. I created a file so thick it could have passed for a legal brief. I waited for the right moment. And it came. My parents were hosting a family dinner for their anniversary. Claire was flying in from Chicago with her husband and their perfect little life. It was going to be a celebration. Everyone would be there. Aunts, uncles, cousins, all the people who had looked at me with suspicion over the years. I was going to give them a show they'd never forget. I went through old social media accounts, school records, anything I could find. I contacted old teachers, friends, even ex-boyfriends who might have remembered something. Bit by bit, I uncovered a pattern. People had heard things from Claire. Stories that painted her as a victim and me as a villain. but none of them ever saw it firsthand. It was all hearsay, and many of them admitted they had doubted it, but didn't want to get involved. Then came the twist I never saw coming. An old friend from high school, Emily, messaged me out of the blue after I posted a vague update about uncovering family lies. She said she needed to tell me something important. We met for coffee. The night of the dinner, I felt like I was carrying a bomb inside me. Years of silence, pain, betrayal, and truth, all packed into a folder I had printed, copied, and carefully sealed. I kept one copy in my purse and another in my car. I didn't trust fate to let me lose it now. The house was already buzzing when I arrived. Laughter floated out from the backyard, where fairy lights twinkled in the dusk. Tables were set, wine bottles uncorked, and the scent of roasted chicken and spices drifted through the warm air. I stood on the threshold for a moment, trying to steady my breath. Claire was already there, of course. She stood in the center like she always did, glass of wine in hand, her voice bright, charming, every eye on her. She looked almost angelic in her ivory blouse and gold earrings. When she saw me, her smile flickered, just for a second, then returned, wider than ever. "Rachel, oh my God, you made it," she said, coming to hug me like we were sisters in a Hallmark movie. I hugged her back. But this time, I didn't melt. This time, I didn't shrink. "Of course," I said. "I wouldn't miss it." She tilted her head. "You look great." "New job?" "Nope. Same one. Just living honestly." That flicker again in her eyes. Dinner was served an hour later. We all gathered around a large table under the pergola, candles flickering, soft jazz playing from my dad's ancient speaker. I looked around the table, the people who had watched me grow up, people who had believed the worst about me. My mom clinked her glass and stood. "We just want to thank all of you for coming tonight. 40 years of marriage isn't easy, but it's worth every step when you have a family like this." Applause followed. Then Claire stood up. "I just want to add something," she said. "I know I haven't been home much, and I've missed a lot, but I love this family. Especially my little sister Rachel. We may have had our bumps, but I'm so proud of who you've become." A chorus of oaths followed. I felt everyone's eyes on me. Claire was good. So good at this. I stood up slowly. "Thanks, Claire," I said. "Actually, while we're all here, I have something to say, too." Claire sat down, smiling politely, clearly assuming I was going to make some sappy toast. But her smile started to slip the moment I pulled the folder from my purse and laid it on the table. I spent most of my life confused about why people treated me differently. I began. Why teachers doubted me. Why my own parents seemed disappointed in me when I hadn't done anything wrong. The table fell silent. I used to think maybe I was broken. Maybe I was a problem. But I wasn't. I was just a target. I looked directly at Claire. "You told people I was using drugs. You told them I was expelled, a liar, a thief. You made up stories. And worse, you stole from me." Claire's face paled. Her wine glass trembled in her hand. "What are you talking about?" she said, her voice tight. I turned to the family. "In this folder, you'll find emails, messages, even testimony from people who remember what Claire did. She used my name to apply for scholarships. She used my stories as her own. And when she was afraid the truth would come out, she built a lie about me so big that none of you could see me anymore." My mom stood up, panic in her eyes. "Rachel, this isn't the place." "No, Mom, it is," I said firmly. "Because for once, I'm not letting her control the narrative. For once, you're all going to hear my side. Not whispers, not rumors. The truth." I passed the folder to my aunt who sat nearest me. One by one, it made its way around the table. Murmurs began. Page flipping. Eyes widening. Claire stood up, red-faced. "This is ridiculous. She's making all this up." She's bitter because I was successful. I faced her. You used to read me stories before bed. Do you remember that? You promised we'd always be a team. But you weren't my sister. You were my saboteur. Stop it, she snapped. You're ruining Mom and Dad's night. No, Claire, you did that years ago. When you convinced them their daughter was a disgrace. When you let me suffer in silence while you soaked up the praise for things you didn't even earn. My dad had gone quiet, his hand shaking as he read through the pages. My mother looked like she'd been slapped. Claire started to speak again, but my dad raised a hand. Is this true? He asked her. She looked from him to Mom to me. You're seriously going to believe her over me? After everything? Answer the question. Claire, he said again. Claire took a breath, then another. I just wanted them to like me more, she finally said. Rachel was always around, always getting attention. I worked so hard. I didn't mean for it to go this far. A gasp rippled through the table. I didn't mean for it to go this far. That was her excuse for years of lies. I sat down. The storm had passed, but I was shaking. My father stood and left the table. My mother followed, silent. Claire sat back down slowly, her shoulders hunched, eyes shining with tears. The rest of the night was quiet. People ate in silence. Some left early. My aunt hugged me before she went. I always knew something wasn't right. She whispered, I'm sorry I didn't ask sooner. The next day, Claire left town early. She sent me a text that said only, I hope you're happy. I didn't respond. It took weeks for the dust to settle. My parents called me days later, both of them crying, apologizing. They said they believed Claire because she gave them answers when they were confused and scared, because she cried louder, because she played the victim better. We've failed you, my mom whispered. I know that now. I didn't forgive them immediately, but I also didn't hang up. Over time, they started trying, really trying. My father helped me fix up my old car. My mother came over and helped repaint my apartment. They listened more than they talked. As for Claire, she lost a lot that night. Not just her reputation, but the love of a family that had once stood blindly behind her. She called a few times, left voicemails, said she wanted to explain. But I wasn't ready. Maybe I never would be. I wasn't out for revenge. I just wanted my life back. And I got it. 6 months after that dinner, I got promoted at work. I started teaching a creative writing class at the community center. The same stories Claire had once stolen from me were now giving others hope. I made new friends, rebuilt bridges that had long burned. The truth didn't fix everything, but it set me free. And for the first time in years, I could breathe. My name is Rachel Thomas. I'm not a liar. I'm not a failure. I'm not invisible. I'm still standing. And that's more than any of her lies could ever take away.